Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest Channel Vision webinar brought to you today by Telesystem. I'm Tony Jones, Managing Editor of Channel Vision magazine. Today, we'll be examining the good and bad sides of artificial intelligence, while also discussing how the AI-powered solutions Telesystem provides can help enhance efficiencies and safeguard valuable company assets. Leading today's discussion will be Sean Nace, Manager of Sales Engineering at Telesystem. Welcome, Sean. Thank you for being here today. We welcome the audience's participation today as well, and we'll accept questions and comments, which we'll address at the end of Sean's presentation. If you'd like to submit a question or discussion point, please do so by clicking on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Also, after today's webinar, we'll have a drawing for an Amazon gift card for those who stick around throughout the Q&A. With that, I'll hand things over to Sean so we can get started.
And thanks for having me, Tony. I really appreciate that. For those of you who don't know about Telesystem, we believe IT is about trust. It's about trust. So security is pretty much at the heart of everything that we do. We have security at the core of our network with embedded DDoS protection, security at the edge with the latest next-gen firewalls, EDR, MDR, and cybersecurity consulting. But today we're here to talk about AI, the good and the bad, the dark and the light sides of AI, if you will. I don't think anything is more relevant in this day and age than talking about artificial intelligence. It's impacting our lives. I think a lot of us are using it rather for the benefits, right? Whether it's increased productivity, helping out with our creative writing, marketing purposes, you name it. There's a lot of benefits to AI, but there's some dark side too, right? The bad actors are using us at the same time as for their own uses, the same as we are for productivity purposes. So just to kind of recap a little bit about what we do at Telesystem. So at Telesystem, we kind of have three main pillars: voice, data, and cybersecurity. But for those of you who don't know us, we've been around since 1994, so we're over 30 years old. Been around since basically the breakup of the Bell system in the 90s. We're part of a larger company, the Black Communications Company, which is a media conglomerate. Still privately held, been around since 1901 actually, but we own the Toledo Blade, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and then we own MSOs like smaller Comcasts or Spectrums, if you will, in Mississippi, Alabama, and then Toledo, Ohio, where we're headquartered. We're definitely one of the best in the business when it comes to reliability. We advertise 5 nines of uptime, but knock on wood, where we've been running well over 100% for the past several years. 24/7 US-based support. That's really important. We pick up the call in 15 seconds or less. We have an industry-leading NPS score of 75. Thanks to that support, US-based support. We survey every single customer after every single trouble ticket. So you think about it, that's not always the best time to get in front of a customer and ask, hey, how did we do? But overwhelmingly, resoundingly, we have a positive response from our customers, and that's why we have that industry-leading NPS score of a plus 75. Just adding on to that network is probably almost one of our core competencies. I'd say about almost half of our sales involve network in some shape or form, whether that's dedicated internet backed by our inline and always-on DDoS protection or threat defense system. But we have a nationwide 100 gig pop-to-pop network that covers everywhere in the lower 48. So we can offer DIA, MPLS, broadband, LTE, satellite-based internet, you name it. There's pretty much nothing that we can't offer as far as network. But when we layer on our security, I think that's really where you see the value add at Telesystem. Everything is professionally project managed. We're SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. And again, we can offer security from cradle to grave or core out to the edge of that network. But again, we're here to talk about AI. So there's no denying that artificial intelligence has really changed our world for the better in a lot of ways, right? AI is definitely a powerful tool. I definitely use it in some ways, when I'm responding to RFPs, right? So for those of you who don't know, RFPs are probably one of the bears of our industry, right? We definitely have seasons, and they're very cyclical in nature when we're responding to those. But you have sometimes hundreds of pages worth of answers, and a lot of times, they're repetitive answers. So I can use a tool like ChatGPT or You name the other forms of artificial intelligence or ML tools, and I can leverage AI to help answer those RFPs based on previous responses that I've already handed out before. But AI is constantly evolving, so it's definitely reshaping our industry and technology and many other industries across the board. But it's also opened the door for the bad actors to leverage those same tools for their benefit too. So we really have to be cognizant of both how it's used for good and bad, and we have to know how to maybe even use AI to protect our businesses. And Telesystem, we definitely have the tools to help you get there. So again, some of the traditional use cases with AI, the productivity purposes, like I talked about, assisting in writing. For my case, it's RFPs, but it could be, even something where you just want to check, set of checks and balances on grammar, beyond what Microsoft Word can do for your Office 365 products. But it's definitely highly efficient when it comes to, especially those repetitive tasks, doing those same things over and over again. Instead of having to be the robot routine for your customers, you can use artificial intelligence to help you with those predictive tools, expanding it, responding to frequently asked questions. For example, you might use an AI chatbot, embedded in your contact center. You can leverage Telesystem's business messaging product in order to do so, right? It can definitely improve customer experience. That's why you definitely see it leveraged in CCaaS solutions across the world. I definitely see a benefit to that. It's gonna continue to evolve to improve customer experience, because we want to be answered, but we want to be answered by live humans if possible, and if not, we want to be able to at least get an immediate response or a timely response from those companies that we're reaching out to, whether it's our airlines, our credit card companies, Amazon, you name it, right? We need that immediate response, that instant gratification, if you will. And AI is definitely a great tool to help our businesses, create that response and improve efficiencies by augmenting technology instead of humans for some of that, right? And obviously with that comes a cost savings, right? So there's a huge cost savings. Instead of having to pay 10 people, we might be able to leverage 5 people for that same job. And again, that's that duality, right? There's certainly a dark side to that cost savings too. Maybe it's creating more jobs in some ways, but getting rid of jobs in others. I guess time will tell when it comes to that that side of things. But it's definitely creating a very heightened sense of intelligence or business awareness, and allowing us to really improve the way that we're maybe marketing to our customers or other forms of communication. When it comes to the dark side of AI, I think the use cases are just as endless for the bad actors as they are businesses like ourselves, like technology companies. So phishing attacks, are still very common, right? So unfortunately, I'd say 90%, I mean, there's all sorts of data points out there, but one data point that I saw recently said that about 92% of breaches were really the result of end users clicking on something that we should not be. So AI-powered phishing attacks are only going to become, I think, that much more prevalent, right? Because years ago, we might have been able to spot the fish because English wasn't the first language of that bad actor, or there was some misspellings or bad grammar in that, right? But now they can use AI to generate phishing attacks. They're able to be highly effective. And unfortunately, we fall victim to these click-through rates much more often now, because those business email compromises or phishing attacks can be personalized to me, to Sean Nace, to my business at Telesystem, or to an industry that you're a part of, right? These emails are very realistic. They can use auto signatures and logos that look exactly like the businesses that they might say they're coming from. Or they can use phishing simulations. That's a voicemail related phishing simulation that could even replicate our voices, right? Or the cadence in which we talk, the mannerisms that we use in our everyday communication. So even the SMS messages and phishing campaigns, all forms of communication are really at risk now when it comes to AI-powered attacks or threats against us. There's a whole new vector, now with the phishing and the business email compromising. And then deepfakes, I'm going to show you an example of a deepfake here, an example, but an AI generated video or images or audio files, like I mentioned earlier, that can easily deceive us. We see the comedic versions of that all the time now, with our favorite NFL coaches or college coaches, talking about whatever might be going on in their worlds, right? There's all sorts of memes out there with the deep fakes, but yeah, the bad guys are really using these for their benefit too, their economic benefit. And let's face it, that's the real main goal for a lot of the bad actors. It's economic gain. So that's exploits like ransomware or other forms of attacks. They're trying to elicit money from us, from our businesses, from our person to basically fund their lifestyle, fund their businesses. And a lot of these bad actors are really parts of large organizations, criminal organizations in most cases, actually, that are very well run. And let's face it, they are generating income for their businesses, right? There's also adversarial AI, so they can manipulate ML models like ChatGPT and others to produce false results that could help maybe tamper with the way our business works, and that could come by compromising the data that you're actually using in AI. And that's a really important thing too, is for those businesses out there using AI to improve efficiencies, you have to make sure that your data is ready for AI, right? That you're not allowing every user to upload patient identifiable information, proprietary info, your own IP research data, whatever the case might be. You got to be very careful about that data that you're exposing to to those forms of AI out there. Here's a couple examples of an AI generated message that is certainly very convincing. And you can see this comes from Lehigh County General Hospital. This is fictitious, so forgive me if there really is a Lehigh County General Hospital out there. This is really not meant to be something that actually happened, but this could very well be the case of what you might see in the real world example. So you say, "Dear employee name, dear Sean Nace, as part of our ongoing efforts to maintain a secure working environment, we are conducting mandatory security update for all hospital employees. This update is critical in protecting our patients' data and ensuring the integrity of our hospital's IT infrastructure. Please find the updated link below to follow instructions and complete the update as soon as possible." And there you go. You see that employee security update. You might click that link and upload whatever data. It might be your date of birth. It might be a password for your network. It might be a password for your machine. Who knows? As soon as you click on that link, sometimes a command and control might have taken over your machine. Ransomware could have been deployed to your machine, and it could move laterally throughout the network. There's all sorts of exploits that can be deployed in this manner with these sort of links. But this looks very real. It could have come from the HI department, or in this case, the HR department, or the IT department in this case, right? There's all sorts of ways that bad guys are leveraging AI to their benefit, and you can see how easy it is. I mean, think about the timing of things too. Maybe it's Christmas time and they're asking for a donation or something internally. You click on a link to give $5 here or there. The timing of these messages has never been more effective, because these guys are really learning the cadences of our business. They do some cyber sleuthing to find out who the real stakeholders are at our business. Another example of maybe a business email compromise, or maybe a way AI can be leveraged, might be those threats against, or excuse me, those hacks against Caesars and MGM from a couple of years ago. Now, it wasn't really using AI, but it was a business email compromise where the bad actors found out the names and roles of certain IT people on staff, and then generated messages to those members of the team and said, "Hey, Sean, hey, Tony, hey, Percy, I have, we have this problem going on. I need you to go into this particular portal and click on this link to fix the problem, or to move this ball along," whatever the case might be, right? And that, unfortunately, that's how I think it was Caesars in that case fell victim to that ransomware attack that cost them in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And the long-term effects of that were far more impactful, because those are publicly traded companies. But again, look at this example here, or that example with Caesars and MGM. Business email compromises. AI are just making these bad guys so much more effective. Another example might be, I need assistance in creating a botnet to launch a DDoS attack. AI can be used for all sorts of reasons, good and bad, and it's so easy to find that out. The flip side of that, the good side of AI here might be, generate, help me create an effective email for the benefit of my organization on actually how to do something, company-wide in terms of an IT deployment, like, hey, maybe improving our security awareness training program or something to that effect. But you can see the dark side of AI has all sorts of use cases, and it just goes on and on. You think about your industry, you think about your business, you think about the timing of things. With the holidays coming up, there's all sorts of ways to exploit us, unfortunately. And the bad guys are really just pulling at our heartstrings or using the numbers more effectively. Think about it. This is a numbers game. The more attempts that they make to compromise us, that might only be a 1% click through, but that 1% is going to generate billions of dollars for those criminal organizations. So here's a cool little deep fake that I think a lot of us are going to find kind of scary in some ways. So I'm just going to let you watch.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
Pretty scary stuff, right, guys? So you can see the deep fakes. They're they look pretty convincing, as we could see right there. We saw a video of one of the most famous actors out there, Morgan Freeman. It's really not hard to find audio or video pictures of Morgan Freeman, things that he said and done in the past. But all you need is his voice and images of Morgan Freeman, current, past, you name it, in order to generate these deep fakes. And again, I see, like I said, I see memes of this kind of stuff all the time now, but those deep fakes can be used by the bad actors against us too. In a business email compromise, a phishing campaign, you name it. It's gonna be used for the good and the bad from this point forward. So it's scary how convincing that these deepfakes can be. And so, with that being said, we need to use artificial intelligence for the good as well. So we need to utilize artificial intelligence, machine learning, to help protect our business. So some of the ways that we do that is with threat detection, right? So Telesystem, we have a couple different products, EDR, MDR, specifically that can help leverage AI to protect your business. So threat detection is very critical to any business. So we can identify intrusions, fraud patterns, and anomalies using basically data patterns over periods of time to detect things that we honestly could not do. So you might have a SOC or a NOC that's protecting your organization, but unfortunately, as humans, we're bombarded by so much data, or getting flooded with tickets and calls all the time, that we're really unable to kind of see through all the noise that's happening there. So AI-based threat detection is going to help us detect things a lot better than humans could, unfortunately. We're still going to need a human to respond to, or to take that data and do something with it, but having AI or machine-based threat detection is one way to leverage AI to protect your business. Same things goes with automated responses, so we can help use those initial diagnostics that you might get from even something like threat detection to help create those possible fixes, or again, automate response, almost like a frequently asked question responses to frequently asked questions. Those sort of things can be applied to cybersecurity incidents as well. Vulnerability management, so identifying weak points in our network. So a lot of us have done vulnerability scans or a one-time security assessment as an overarching kind of snapshot of what's happening in our business. What ports and protocols are open? What machines need to be patched? What applications are we using that can make our businesses vulnerable to the bad actors? So we can use vulnerability management and AI to automatically identify those weak points in a real-time scenario and help basically empower our security teams to be more effective for those higher priority tasks. And using something like a SIM and a SOC or MDR along with vulnerability management is a great way to go. Predictive security. So again, I've already talked about using that historical data to help create that preponderance of data that's going to make us more effective in analyzing things over a period of time or in trends, like I was talking about, even with the business email compromises that are very timely in nature, whether it's around the holidays or tax season, or again, based on the vertical or the business that you're trying to, unfortunately, exploit. There's very much predictive data that you can find over periods of time. Fraud detection, I came from the telecom world where some of the earliest forms of fraud were long distance or international toll fraud, right? You might have hacked a PBX to create tens of thousands of dollars worth of long distance calling or international calling to expensive destinations around the world, satellite phones, Somalia, you name it, right? Fraud patterns are very real and they do happen all the time. Credit card fraud, you name it. There's all sorts of different patterns or vectors the bad actors can use to generate fraud. And of course, I think AI can be used in security awareness training. So we have one of the best in the business at security awareness training because we like to create that human firewall, as we call it here at Telesystem. And so we can use AI to develop up-to-date employee trainings. Again, talking about those current threat landscapes like phishing campaigns, business email compromises, things that are happening during tax season, during the holiday season, like I talked to you about. So our security awareness training is very timely in these little micro trainings that we offer to customers on a weekly basis, and they are very much relevant to what's happening that week, that month, or that time of year. Here's a couple other solutions that we offer at Telesystem to help protect our businesses. So we already talked about EDR. EDR is just one form of endpoint protection. Very much, one of the main tenets that you would need to protect any business. I didn't talk about it earlier, but one of the main benefits of Telesystem is that we go deep and wide in every single product offering. So the three main pillars: voice, data, and cybersecurity. But even within those three tenets, we have multiple product options. So maybe you're a business who already has a FortiGate firewall, so the FortiEDR product might be really beneficial to you. Maybe you're starting off in a greenfield scenario and just trying to protect your business from the start. And I might look at our Shield Vision solution powered by Lumify or SentinelOne, you name it, right? We have multiple options for basically any size business, any budget or security posture out there. Email protection, again, just another layer of security. That north-south communication coming into and out of your organization, we have to protect what's coming into and what's going out of your business. So we can maybe encrypt that email that's going out if you're a financial customer or a healthcare customer. And of course, we have to protect that mail that's coming in. SASE has never been more relevant. So Secure Access Service Edge, some people thought of it as the next evolution of SD-WAN, but I think much more than that. It's really a way to apply security measures across the board for those that are in that hybrid type workforce model or those that are moving from prem-based to cloud-based applications. SASE is definitely here to stay, and it's never been more relevant. So sometimes we're using AI and machine learning capabilities to help improve the effectiveness of, say, a FortiEDR client on top of SASE, or using machine learning and honeypots out there to stop the bad guys or the bad actors from compromising our business. We already talked about employee security training, creating that human firewall, and how what we're doing there is very relevant and timely in the world, especially to stop things like AI-based business email compromises. Managed firewall, again, we have a few different options or a couple different options there, from FortiGate firewalls, which are some of the best in the business, to Cisco Meraki is a great technology stack for a lot of customers. So we have a couple different managed firewall offerings. And then MDR and EDR, I've touched on a couple of those, including the Shield Vision, 40 EDR, you name it. We have a lot of different options when it comes to EDR. And the MDR is really creating that managed detection and response model to integrate all the security solutions that you have and basically ingest all the security logs from your firewall, from your switches, from your endpoint protection, email protection, and ingest that into a 24/7, 365 SOC, which we'll talk about shortly. But at Telesystem, we definitely have a great security stack to protect your network from soup to nuts. And again, I think the center part of that would be the network that we offer our customers with embedded DDoS protection. So EDR, why EDR? Before, endpoint protection was just about protecting, antivirus, anti-malware, right? It's definitely evolved over time to where it is right now. And so EDR, endpoint detection and response, is really about that detection and response, as opposed to just creating, some application whitelisting or more basics and just implicitly deny everything like a firewall would, and then just allow what you need to. Unfortunately, we're all consuming applications on the fly to help our business and help our productivity. So we need that continuous monitoring and threat detection that's evolving with our business, and EDR allows for that. So EDR is going to run on our endpoints and constantly collect security and relevant data, what it's connecting to, what sort of applications I'm processing, what else I'm connected to laterally, east, west within my organization, or north, south. Again, that information flowing into and out of my organization or into and out of my machine, types of file activities, what's accessing those files, and so forth, right? So we're constantly monitoring all that data, and then we're looking at the threats that are possibly coming into our organization, looking out for anomalies and blocking those threats in real time by using AI and machine learning. We can even provide that root cause analysis for events that may happen, so our security analysts can detect, kind of the forensic analysis of what happened if there was a breach, right? And having automated responses, whether that's mitigating that threat or blocking a machine. So imagine if a machine does become compromised on our network, right? We don't want that. We don't want those bad guys, those threat actors, moving more east to west with our organization. So if they compromise my machine, I don't want them to connect to Tony's or Percy's or Assess or somebody else out there. I don't want to move more laterally east-west with my organization. And almost more importantly, I don't want to allow those bad actors to elicit or to, take any IP or patient identifiable information or files from my machine and extricating that or exfiltrating that for their benefit. All right, so we have to create that automated response and be quarantine measures for organization. And then lastly, it provides some sort of, a semblance of remediation to using predefined actions to basically thwart the bad guys and clean up that machine. So EDR is definitely here to stay. There's so many great products out there, and Telesystem has a lot to offer you guys. What's MDR? So MDR, I would say it's incorporating EDR and other things like a SIM and SOC. So a SOC is a security operations center. A SIM is a security information event manager that you might layer on top of an EDR solution and other things that you have in your organization. So unfortunately, when it comes to cybersecurity, there's no silver bullet, right? There's no one-stop shop. There's no easy answer to how you stop the bad guys, right? It takes a village, right? And it takes really a number of different products or a really good look at your security posture. But I think a SIM and SOC or MDR is one of the greatest ways to do that, because think about all these different solutions that I just mentioned right there: EDR, email protection, security awareness training, managed firewalls, managed switches, secure wireless or Wi-Fi solutions, right? All these have all that telemetry data, all this noise, for lack of a better word for some folks, that all these logs and security events that are going to overwhelm the majority of businesses, right? We really don't have, the expertise in a lot of businesses. We don't have the number of people or time to sift through all this data and react in real time to what may or may not be happening to our business. So a security operations center, an MDR solution, is going to allow you to take all that data, and it's going to be not just log reporting data, but I'm going to query those endpoints. I'm going to query the firewalls. I'm going to query the switches, the EDR clients that are at an organization's site already, and they might already be existing, right? So the great thing about Telesystems MDR is we can already work with a real great subset of EDR products and other solutions that are already existing in a customer site. We're going to ingest all that data, query those machines, those devices, and find out what's happening so we can detect and monitor that network and that business more effectively. Again, look at those threat vectors in real time, identify the threats, investigate events that do happen, and then respond immediately to those events that are deemed to be beyond neutral, to those threats that are deemed to be malicious against the business, and we can react and remediate those to protect your business. So MDR is definitely certainly for a more sophisticated network, but I think it could benefit businesses of all sizes, and it's definitely leveraging AI and machine learning to help protect us. Beyond cybersecurity, Telesystem has a host of other products. I mentioned network already, being network probably accounting for about half of what we sell at Telesystem. We do have that embedded DS protection. That's a great entry point to selling Telesystem and introducing us to your customers. But voice and cybersecurity are certainly the other two, and not second to any, right? We've been a voice provider since 1994. We have a Cisco BroadSoft, one of the best in the business, and we have our TrustUC UCaaS solution that has some AI built into it too to help your business, right? So we have an AI assistant. So a lot of us are using Teams or other forms of unified communications, and we need to use AI to see what's going on with our our meeting collaborations. Catch us up. Imagine if we had to step away from our desk for a second, go take a quick bio break. We can say, hey, catch me up on what I missed in that meeting, and it'll tell you all the key points, the data points about what's been said. It can tell you, hey, Sean, here's where your name's been mentioned in this call. It can summarize those meeting notes, provide a transcription of those meetings after the fact. So AI is leveraged even our TrustUC product. And by the way, we're calling it TrustUC because we've embedded our security awareness training product as part of that UCaaS solution free for our end users. So, at no additional charge for our end users. So that's the trust part of our TrustUC. It's embedded we're including our security awareness training product on top of the UCaaS. Certainly one of the first in the business to do that. And very unique to Telesystem. You don't exactly have to leverage that security awareness training, but I would say it's probably one of the most effective tools to stop the bad guys and create that or improve that security posture for our customers. So it's really building on that Telesystem. It's all about trust, hence the TrustUC. The last way that we're using AI in our TrustUC product is our business messaging. So our business messaging allows customers to send one-to-one or one-to-many bulk messages and use AI chatbots to create automated responses to our business. So imagine if you're a customer and you wanted to reach out to American Airlines. I mean, I use American Airlines as my go-to for travel all the time, right? And for good or bad, they're difficult to get a hold of on the phone, right? So I do use their chat service quite a bit. When I'm initially sending a chat to them, there's going to be a chat bot that's there before I reach the live person, and the chat bot is pretty effective. So depending on what you would ask that chat representative, it might have an automated response to frequently asked questions like, "Hey, what are your business hours?" Or, "Hey, I need to, change my flight information." It's going to direct you to the web app or a specific part of the web app in order to do that. You can use this same exact tool in an AI bot to help your business, right? You can say, "What are your business hours?" Or somebody might ask you, "What are your business hours?" And you can tie this tool and tie it into your website or another frequently asked question document that you can upload to the tool to provide those automated responses to your customers. And they can be in whatever language they were asked for. So again, we're leveraging AI to help improve your business. Imagine if that customer is asking a question in Spanish, French, Portuguese, you name it. It can respond in the native language of that customer to help improve your business. So again, AI, I think it's being used for both the good and the bad. It's here to stay, and Telesystem is here to help you. So anybody have any questions?
Yeah, we can open it up to the floor. Again, if you have any questions you'd like to submit that Sean can address about the topic today, go ahead and click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Got some questions for you though, Sean, too, and you did address this a little bit um, regarding EDR and MDR, I suspect, but how is Telesystem monitoring and defending against AI-driven threats, like adaptive malware and smart phishing?
Sure. So, how are we protecting our businesses? So, like I said, we offer a variety of ER products that are really spec'd out to your customer security requirements and your custom security requirements, right? Not everybody has the budget for Silence or Sentinel-1. Maybe, or maybe you already have, Carbon Black or something throughout your organization, and you just wanted to incorporate a SIEM and SOC on top of that. So I guess to answer your question is we have the right tools, whether it's net new or incorporating something that a customer might already have, embedding some machine learning techniques into that, say the EDR client. So most of the newer EDR clients are going to use machine learning to help thwart the bad guys or detect those anomalies, those real-time zero-day threats that sometimes they're called, that might be trying to exploit your business or compromise one particular machine or the network at large, right? So there's all sorts of nefarious ways or vectors that the bad actors are using, and EDR and machine learning are definitely here to stay. But I think both machine learning and MDR, again, different products are definitely viable for the majority of businesses out there. Just have to talk to us, and we'll find out what's best for your business. That's one of the greatest things about Telesystem is we can go deep and wide in all our product offerings, especially cybersecurity. So and regardless of your budget, regardless of where you are in your journey with cybersecurity, we have the tools to help you.
Awesome, thank you. Why is it important to regularly educate employees about AI-driven phishing scams and other social engineering tactics that actors might be using?
Why is it important? I think the data point I brought up earlier, and it's probably still relevant right now. I think, when I looked at something last month, a report from Verizon, it said 92% of all breaches against businesses were the result of end users, right? So unfortunately, we as end users fall victim to business email compromises, to phishing campaigns. All too often, we click on things that we shouldn't, right? And that comes down to education. Sometimes, they might catch us with those, timely emails. Maybe it's tax season, maybe it's the holidays, maybe it's just, something, an event that's going on in your organization. The bad guys can do some cyber sleuthing, find out what's happening in your organization, like what just happened yesterday. So there was a massive outage, a DNS outage that affected AWS, right? Which God knows, I mean, that affected certainly, some impacts or some websites that I leveraged yesterday, like Smartsheet, for example, and maybe a couple others. But who knows how it affected other businesses? Imagine the bad guys using yesterday's event to solicit or elicit emails to your organization, excuse me, to send emails to your organization that were about that event. So, hey guys, I just wanted to follow up and make sure that everything is operating as it should. I do know there was two different AI companies that were affected by this, Perplexity AI and something else. So imagine if you were, the bad actors, you crafted an email that looked like it was from Perplexity AI's, customer support team, and they accidentally clicked on something to respond to, what they thought was legitimate follow-up, like trying to give you the warm and fuzzies and make good for what happened yesterday. It's very easy to fall victim to these phishing attacks or business email compromises. So we have to, create that human firewall. Our security awareness training tool would have allowed you to, instead of just clicking on something unsuspectingly, you might have maybe just hovered over that URL, that link that might have been embedded that email, and looked at what website or domain it's going out to. If it's going to something .ru, or something other than, in the US, you might not want to click on it, or you might want to forward it to your IT team to take a look at and quarantine, or maybe you have a check fish sort of email in your Outlook like ours does. So you can quickly check that email for its validity, right? Again, security awareness training, I think it's never been more relevant due to things like I just mentioned, the timing of things, and how easy it is to, to craft really nice looking, catchy emails anymore. So we really have to train our employees on how to be their own cyber sleuths. And doing those one-time yearly trainings, doing those weekly micro trainings and quarterly trainings on top of that, in tandem with phishing simulations, phishing campaigns that we send out, are just going to help your business, right? There's no telling how much time it's going to take to improve a customer security posture. But that's just one tool, and it's probably the most cost-effective tool to help protect your business. And that's why we're trying to include that in our TrustUC product.
Awesome, thank you. And what solutions or tactics does Telesystem use to help businesses secure sensitive data? And do you use AI to help with anomaly detection?
So what tools do we, well, yes, we definitely use AI to help with anomaly detection. That's, we talked about, the EDR clients out there that we offer. They definitely use machine learning and AI, to help detect things that are happening in that real time and 0-day effect. But how do you protect your business data? I think that comes down to more of a consultative approach, or even our SASE offerings. So SASE, Secure Access Service Edge. I think it starts with a zero trust mindset. Just because I have access to Salesforce.com or a electronic medical records solution, if I'm a healthcare customer like Epic, right? It doesn't mean just because that's available to everybody in an organization that I need Sean Nays or Tony to have access to the entire width and breadth of that solution. Maybe I can only access certain segments of that, or maybe I'm able to read only, or maybe I'm only able to upload certain data to that, right? So you have to make sure that those who have access are trusted in order to do so. So you have role-based authentication with SASE. You have zero trust, so you're only able to access certain applications, not all applications. And maybe it's just your your EMR product in Salesforce. Maybe it's just Office 365 products, but you can't go to your Gmail, for example, right? So creating the idea of zero trust, or creating that those policies around what data can be uploaded, what data can, what users can upload information or see that data. It's really important to organization of any size. And so I think the combination of SASE and EDR are just two tools to help with what you just asked about.
Great, thank you, thank you. Also, again, if you have a question that you'd like to submit for Sean, we still have a few minutes here. Go ahead and click on the Q&A icon to submit. Here's another one, Sean. What solutions does Telesystem recommend to safeguard businesses from security gaps with remote workers?
How do we have solutions to help with security gaps for remote workers? Again, I think that boils down to SASE. Well, again, I think it's really the same answer as the last one, SASE and EDR clients. So the great thing about SASE is I think it was really developed for, it wasn't really developed for that, but I think it really helps with that hybrid workforce. So years ago, right up until COVID, I mean, I worked in the office right up until 2019. I commuted every day, drove an hour to work each way, or sometimes longer, depending on the day in the Philadelphia area. And you had to access everything from that network, right? You were using a company provided laptop or desktop. You might have been using even a company provided cell phone to access your email if you're doing something like that, right? But you're using company to provide devices. You were many times accessing the data that was available in that building, run on premise-based servers in some cases in 2019 still. And now we want to, right away in 2019, everybody was sent home. We were all working from home, right? And now we're using, some people were sent home without any company provided laptop, right? You were sent home with just using your own devices, your iPad, your personal laptop, your Android or iPhone devices to answer email or do other things, right? And now it becomes, okay, so how does that device interact with my company's data, with my company's applications? Again, maybe it's Epic for electronic medical records. Maybe it's a doctor writing her prescription. Maybe it's myself accessing customer billing records or proprietary network designs for a financial institution, right? You got to really worry about the bad actors getting a hold of your machine and then accessing what you have access to across your business network and your you know your business enterprise. So the idea of SASE is it's going to create that persistent security policy across your business, whether you're in the office, whether you're remote, whether you're accessing on-prem servers, whether you're accessing cloud-based applications like Office 365 or Salesforce, and whether you're using your own machine or a company-provided machine, you're going to have the software, the solution in place, and that's what SASE does. It allows you to put a client on a company machine, whether you're in the office or remote. It's going to create that persistent security policy so Sean Nace or Tony can only access these things. And again, those policies and procedures, the idea of zero trust is really effective for protecting our organizations, especially in that hybrid workforce. I think that in combination with EDR for this machine learning capabilities are really there to for the foreseeable future to help protect our businesses. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Sure. And what are some things that people can look for when it comes to AI generated attacks, similar to the example you shared earlier? What might stand out?
What can people look for?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's crazy. So I mean, with the advent of AI, the sky's the limit now, guys. I don't know what to say. And if anybody told you they had the answer for that, I think they'd be lying. Because AI has really changed the game for us, right? So I think it's just a matter of staying vigilant, staying on top of things, constantly learning. Using something like Telesystem security awareness training powered by Breach Secure Now. I think using EDR products or EDR and MDR products to protect an organization, it's using the tools that are available to us. It's the only way to help, right? There's still, even with all those tools out there, we still need to constantly be vigilant, constantly educate ourselves, because the bad guys are still evolving too, right? And so is AI. So that's a tough one, but I think constant education, being aware, and as a business, making sure that your employees are aware of the best ways to, kind of create that human firewall within your organization.
Right. We still have a few minutes if someone wants to submit a question. Sean, do you have any final thoughts about what we were discussing today?
Thank you for your time, Tony. I really appreciate you having me on and supporting Telesystem. And for those out there in the audience, if you have any questions, just reach out to us. I'll definitely put my email in the chat there, and we can reach out to you guys with our contact info. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me or my team. Telesystem, we're definitely here to help protect your business, and just reach out and we'll be glad to help.
Thank you so much. Thanks again for your insight today. We really appreciate it. We look forward to following up on this and similar topics in Channel Vision articles, as well as CVX education sessions moving forward. And in fact, Telesystem is a platinum sponsor of CVX Expo, which will be held shortly here, November 3rd through the 5th in Glendale, Arizona. We hope you'll join us there. We got a lot of great AI sessions on the schedule for that show. We will conduct a drawing for the Amazon gift card after we sign off here, and we'll announce the winner plus a little wrap up of today's presentation on LinkedIn. Again, I'd like to express our thanks to Sean Nace and Telesystem for today's presentation, and thank you to everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time.